So with Avengers Infinity War featuring undoubtedly the toughest foe that the Avengers are ever going to have to take on in the MCU, at least for the time being, a lot of things are being, I guess, kept very much under wraps on what the ramifications are, how these things might affect the characters, and what even happens to some of these characters if they make it through the film. Now, of course, I've already talked about the Hulk versus Thanos, and how they've teased that after that fight and that meeting of the characters, Hulk is more or less petrified of what Thanos can do. And considering Hulk is so strong, and we've already seen how powerful he is in the MCU, that's something that's rather interesting. But recently, Bruce Banner actor Mark Ruffalo sat down for an interview, and he was directly asked regarding that fight, and how is the Hulk and Bruce Banner going to react to facing Thanos, and this is what he said. Well, that's tricky. It definitely has ramifications. He's definitely never met another opponent quite like that. Their first encounter sort of propels what will be, you know, the rest of the next two movies. So, and that's what ends up happening between Bruce and the Hulk. So that's rather interesting what he says, right? Because it's whatever Thanos can do to Hulk that really petrifies him that's going to somehow affect Bruce Banner and the Hulk in somewhat of a separate way. Now, I'm wondering if he's going to actually, like, pummel him down into the ground and maybe use the stones to try to really get into the head of the Hulk, and maybe this will even start the split personality of both them trying to fight for control even more, maybe splitting from one another, because that's already been teased in other interviews that the two are somewhat going to maybe take their own different paths down the road in the MCU. So could the Hulk actually become fully separated from Bruce Banner, which they've played around in the comics and it's rather interesting, but pulling that off in the movie might be a little bit harder than pulling it off in the comics, which if they do, that'll be interesting. But you know, right here they're quite clearly teasing something that's big that's going to happen in Infinity War when they face each other, that's going to carry over into the next Avengers, where we see it directly impact both of them in some different way. So my guess is going to be that Thanos is definitely going to use these stones to mess around with the Hulk and Bruce Banner and probably start splitting them one from another.